This is Diaspora Weekly. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah, and we're joined by Shola Salako, right? Glad I have it right.
Yes, you
Give me the
got it.
correct pronunciation of your name.
Shola Salako.
Oh, Salako. There you go. Yoruba. Bawoni.
Yeah.
Uh?
Boa Lafia.
Very good. Very good.
Lafia.
You know,
I'm well.
yeah, that's good. Um, Shola, what impresses me most about you is that what you've created, when the world gets out there, it's like, okay, I have my own impression about what you created. But first, let me officially welcome you. Welcome to Diaspora Weekly. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Well, as we've just covered, my name is Shola Salako.
Mhm.
I'm from Nigeria. I live here in Detroit, Michigan. I shuttle back and forth between Detroit and Lagos, Nigeria. And I was born and raised in New York, actually. But then I returned to Detroit 23 years ago for college, started a business, and I've been here ever since. Yes.
So Lagos, what part of Lagos are you from? Because
Well, my family lives on the mainland part of Lagos, a place called Iju Obawale. Shout out to my Iju people.
Iju, okay, inside Lagos we have now that's it used to be a coal. Now there's some nice high rises that have erupted there. I think there's a very exclusive neighborhood there. What's it called?
You mean in Lagos generally?
Yeah,
Oh,
inside
there's
Lagos.
the newest one I've heard about is the Banana Island, which is part of Ikoyi. There's the
Okay,
Lekki areas,
Lekki.
it's constantly expanding. Yes.
Lekki is what I had in mind. So Lekki.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Banana Island is now. Wait, did they reclaim the land from the sea like they did in Dubai?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, I
really?
believe so. Yes, it was mostly dredged, to expand the Ikoyi area.
So how come we never hear about Banana Island?
I'm not sure. It's. I mean, it's pretty popular now, but it's
Okay.
also very new.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
When I grow up, I want to get a house in Banana Island in Lagos.
You and me
I can
both.
lease the land. Yeah, but okay. So now tell us, who is Shola? Let's meet Shola. I know
Well,
you look good in African outfit and all, but who's Shola?
Shola is a technology entrepreneur. I actually left medical school to do software.
Wow.
It's something very near and dear to my heart. I feel most alive when I'm building software and solving problems with technology. I'm a family man. I'm also the first of four boys. My parents had four boys. I'm the oldest. I personally have three boys as well. Still no girl. I don't know what will happen. Maybe my son will make me a grandpa and have a girl.
Well, I tell you
Yeah.
what, I can trade one of my. Well, no, I can't say that because if they see this video, I'm in trouble. So Shola, you left medical school to do IT.
Yes, I did.
Which
Yes.
African kid does that? Your parents must be livid at you.
They were initially, so I went to middle school and high school in Nigeria, Federal Government College of Bomalink boarding school, and special shout out to all Africans who went to boarding school in Africa. We are strong, we are resilient.
Uh,
And when I went to school there, I went to college there also, the Obafemi Awolowo University, for
okay.
roughly a year and a half. before the teachers went on strike and all these challenges. And that's when we decided I was just going to come back to the US and continue my education. But when I came back, I discovered my first experience with computers and I switched my major. Of course, my parents weren't too excited about that, but today they are very, very happy. They love
Okay.
that I followed my heart. Yes.
Well, let the record show that for someone who went to day school, for high school,
Yeah.
by you giving a shout out to all those who went to boarding school, I think you and I just quit being friends now. So we're just going to go through this interview.
I apologize for that.
No, no problem. Anyway, let's talk about Nigeria. How long were you in Nigeria?
Oh, wow. So from middle, yeah, roughly, I spent about 14 years of my life in Nigeria. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was great. It was a great, great, great experience, experiencing my culture, learning the languages, and making friendships that will last a lifetime.
Okay. So Nigeria, the reason why I want us to talk a bit about Nigeria is, in many ways, Nigeria leads in Africa, leads in population. I think right now officially is the largest size economy. I think it just overtook South Africa. What is Nigeria doing right and not so right? Because it seemed like Nigeria could be doing more.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. From my opinion, I would say in the areas of leadership and great governance, I don't think Nigeria has done a great job. What really is very surprising and appalling to me is most of the leaders have access to other great countries. They travel frequently, they're Western trained and educated, but for whatever reason, they're unable to bring the great experiences from other countries into Nigeria. The roads, the electricity, the water is still in a very terrible state. And it sounds like these leaders have accepted this as status quo. And the people have also adapted to this, which I feel is a great tragedy on the path of the leadership of Nigeria.
And yet, I must say that Nigerians are some of the brightest Black people I know. Currently, in the United States, I think the Nigerian community is the most highly educated, bar none, of all the groups. So why can't it cannot be that you have a group of highly smart, highly intellectual people, but when it comes to leadership, they drop the ball. Could something else be playing a role other than just leadership?
Yeah, you have a great point. We do have highly educated people. I mean, and that's really more in terms of the population. If we compare with other African countries, yes, we have the highest population of educated Africans in America. Yes. However, and again, my opinion, Nigerians are very great at excelling, especially when it comes to comparing oneself with his peers or her peers. A lot of people, in my opinion, get the education and all these things so they could check these boxes, make their parents proud, make their country proud, and be part of the greater society. But when it comes to actually performance or results or taking this education back home to Africa to actually implement, I think we as a people also failed in that regard. And the leaders in Nigeria, who also are part of this problem, haven't done a great job encouraging these types of results and performance from the people. So you have a fantastic point. Absolutely.
Well, at the turn of a century, I was president of African Community Organization in the Houston area, and the organization comprised about 22 African countries. And the Nigerian community used to get a lot of bad rap. And I remember making a statement at a meeting at City Hall, say, you give me one Nigerian who is involved in criminal activity, and I'll give you 100 who, for each one that you give me, I'll give you 100 that are playing by the rule. And they helped, they called me out to it, and I was able to numerically prove that to them. And so if that is the case, why do you think Nigerians have such a bad rap globally?
Well, sadly, yes. With every nation, there's a bunch of bad apples in the bunch, which also corrupts the bunch. I remember back in the 80s, while I lived in Nigeria growing up, there was a military dictator who literally took over the country. And from that time, corruption grew tremendously. It was a mindset of steal and not get caught and allow others to also steal, which fostered a mindset or a culture of just corruption. I think that level of corruption also transcended outside of Nigeria to the Nigerian diaspora, and this mindset of trying to cut corners and also not having a strong level of accountability or punishment for these things, especially if the leaders of a country, this military dictatorship is practicing this. I mean, it doesn't stop anyone. I really feel, from my personal opinion and from what I've learned growing up in Nigeria, that a lot of the problems came from around that era of 1985 to 89, when we had these military dictatorships really mess up and show a really blatant and poor example to the young Nigerians. And these young Nigerians of today are, so to speak, practicing these corrupt things.
Well, you personally did not cut any corners. You got into IT and you created
Yes,
Bomalink.
sir.
Bomalink.
Yes, sir.
First of all, Bomalink. Where does the name come from?
Bomalink. The word Boma came from Swahili. It's at a high level. Boma means gathering, a gathering of elders to make decisions for the collective. So that's where the word comes from. And Boma Link is really the gathering of gatherings. So gatherings for various things and various topics and various organizations.
Okay, so you are Yoruba, but you chose a Swahili name for your company. Why is that?
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Yes, the typical Yoruba or African will typically like to name things from their own tribe or their native dialect. But I see myself not only as a Yoruba person, not only as a Nigerian, but also as an African. We're building a platform, a product that will benefit all of Africa. So it makes sense for me to embrace everything that we are as a race, as a people, and also as a continent. I'm very, very glad connecting with fellow Africans, traveling to other countries and learning more, making friends, absorbing cultures. I mean, look at you, for instance. Look at you and I together here. It's and you have great relationships with Nigeria. So really, I have to give you kudos because you do exactly what I emulate myself
Wait,
to also do. Yes.
do you know anything about me in Nigeria that you
Oh
say?
yes, yes. You well, you have shared with me in the past. You know, you know, your wife is from the Nigerians, and you actually have lived in Nigeria,
That's
right?
correct. That's correct.
Yes, it's
That's
former Bendel State, and I lived in Bendel State, so I didn't live in the Yoruba areas
okay.
initially. When we first moved to Nigeria, we went to Bendel State,
Okay.
where my dad found a job,
Okay.
and I built great relationships with the tribes and the groups there.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
what is Bomalink? What does it? How? Tell us about it. What does it work? How does it work?
So Bomalink, yeah, Bomalink is essentially a professional networking platform for individuals and businesses And this is really taken off pretty well. I'm really proud of all the work that we have done on this platform. We even have the media calling it the LinkedIn of Africa, or the Black LinkedIn. So essentially, it looks or functions like a LinkedIn, but is more focused to the African narrative, to African causes, with additional components that help us to collaborate better as a nation and as a people.
So this is Black LinkedIn. I
Yeah,
like the sound of that. Yeah,
the Black LinkedIn. I've heard that a lot of times on
yeah.
social
Well,
media.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you were going to market it, would you use those words exactly? And because
Uh,
that's probably how you would get people's attention, because they used to LinkedIn, but at the same time, from a marketing perspective, I don't know if you're able to use their name in your marketing. But how do you market it? Because it seemed like when I found out what your product does, I sign up right away. How do you get more Africans to sign up?
yes, I mean, really, it's I mean, getting so. I think that's more of a two-part question, but to start with the latter part of your question, getting more Africans to sign up is really a matter of understanding what the majority of Africans need, especially in the light of this recent pandemic. We identified a tremendous need for jobs, especially remote jobs as a result of lockdowns where Africans cannot leave their homes, but they have internet access to a certain extent, and they're willing to work remotely for any company across the world. So we went a step further to reach out to our partners here in the West. I'm in Detroit, so we reached out to General Motors, to Ford. So job opportunities that they can outsource, we're working together to identify those so that Africans can have access to those jobs and secure employment, similar to what India has done. So to market it to Africans is really understanding what the needs are and catering to those needs. But as it relates to using the word LinkedIn or calling it the LinkedIn of Africa or the Black LinkedIn in our marketing, I try to stay as aware and alert in terms of differentiating us from LinkedIn. Yes, we've had some really great conversations with the people at LinkedIn. They really love the Bomalink platform, and there's potential future collaboration. But it's usually best for us to really differentiate why are we different from LinkedIn, and we do a better job for Africa and its diaspora as opposed to LinkedIn. And LinkedIn and Bomalink can work together to fill those gaps. So the stuff that LinkedIn will need help with, we can deliver that, and vice versa as well. So, but it's great. You know, it's actually I don't know if it's a great honor for the media to call us the Black LinkedIn, but it's very catchy, and I was really surprised when I first saw that.
So, talking about differentiation, what features, technical features, does Bomalink have that LinkedIn doesn't have, or vice versa?
Yeah, so one very dominant one is around helping the African diaspora do business in Africa. So our staff in various African countries are available to be boots on ground
Mhm.
for, African Americans, for instance, here in Detroit, who have never been to Accra. They don't know anyone. They can go on the platform, see an opportunity to do a job or a project in Accra, and they reach out to us, and we connect them with vibrant people already on ground who can help them facilitate bidding for various projects, getting partnership, getting lawyers, getting workers on ground, as opposed to just flying out to a crowd blind, not knowing anything about it and wasting so much time and energy. That's one of the biggest differentiating factors between Bomalink and LinkedIn, where we actually put our resources to work through various partnerships, as opposed to LinkedIn, which really just lists the information.
Oh,
It's one thing to get access to the information, but it's a totally different thing to actually execute and deliver the actual results.
so based on the way you described it, it seemed to me African governments should be clamoring to work with you. Are you seeing any of that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, there were a number of meetings and trips planned, but no one expected the pandemic to go the way it did. I personally was supposed to be in Ethiopia with the African Union back in March, but we had to delay. We've been doing more of the conversations through channels like Zoom and email, but it's not as effective, especially when you look at the African culture and the need to be in person to shake hands and make good impressions. But yes, we do have plans to interact with most governments in Africa, particularly through the African Union and the recent or the trade agreement, which was signed last year. We had a fantastic meeting about 3 weeks ago with the AFCFTA Secretariat in Ghana, actually. And they're looking at the platform to start to identify opportunities they can publish on the Bomalink platform, and also in preparation for potential MOUs, which will give us access to other countries within Africa, so we can start to identify these opportunities en masse and let the African diaspora and Africans on the continent know the requirements for these things. So it's looking good, but it's slowed down a bit because of this COVID-19 situation.
Good, good. What other IT products can we expect from you?
Oh wow, yeah, that's a great question. We're constantly writing software. We've identified SaaS products for legal firms. We've identified financial fintech products. We've partnered with organizations in Nigeria and also in Rwanda to roll out additional platforms. These are not really related to Bomalink at all, but these are generally other technology platforms that are also well needed on the continent. Yeah, so yes, we go into different industries, different areas to solve problems. At my heart, I'm an IT consultant, and my nature is to solve problems using technology.
We wake up every morning to different stories from politics, business, sports, and entertainment. These stories, one way or the other, affect our lifestyle and dealings with family, friends, and business associates. Your take on Diaspora Network Television gives you an opportunity to have your take on these pertinent issues via phone in and messages to our social media platforms, DNT Ghana on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If it's an important trending story, we will definitely talk about it. Your take with me, Yalsechi, on DNT.
What's cool, fresh and trendy with a new look? Makes you feel real good, that refreshing vibe. Satisfies you right just the way you like. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Ain't gotta do it alone. Specialized makes you glow. Anytime, anywhere. Specialized feel different. Always think specialized. Special Ice Natural Mineral Water. Feel different. Think special. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Do you know of any other Africans who have a similar type of product out?
You
That
mean
does
similar type of, of company, software development company in general?
a product out that works like Bomalink? Do you know of any?
There, you know what? Actually, there are lots and lots, hundreds of products out there for many years. I mean, I've encountered, and to your point earlier, We are very smart, we're bright as Africans, we're well educated, but this is one big challenge we've had that I've experienced for many years. We operate in little silos. We are never really connected. We want to make it big by ourselves, forgetting that we are a large continent and we can go much farther if we work together. So yes, I've seen many flavors of different platforms, but they never really quite went anywhere. What's missing is the partnerships, the collaboration to get funding, to raise capital, and also to add additional intellectual power to these things so they can go a much long way. Bomalink has been very open to lots and lots of people. We have conversations and meetings every day. We actually open the platform itself for feedback from our members, and we have thousands of members now. And they pour in every day. We spend an hour every day going through these feedbacks and messages, giving responses, and flagging items that we probably need to add to our backlog. So it's been a great experience, and I'm really thankful about it. I've never been so proud to be an African.
What do you have in place against people who might want to use your platform to conduct criminal activities?
Oh yes, that's a very good one. So in the beginning, and I'm really thankful again about partnerships and opening ourselves up for feedback. We have a team of lawyers involved with Bomalink. We have various types of user agreements, data policies, privacy policies, terms of use that show clearly what Bomalink should be used for and what is not allowed on it. So when we see any sign of criminal activity, any complaints, we take action to disable those offenders, addresses, and those types of things. Another thing that we're recently introducing is artificial intelligence, so that we could automatically scan and monitor for these types of things. If we see a person logging in from, say, Ukraine or Russia, but they're claiming that they're located in Accra, Ghana, that's a flag for us, and we get notified for those things. If we see too many messages coming from one user to a bunch of users, so one person, say in Lagos, Nigeria, sending a blast of messages to maybe 2,000 users simultaneously, we know that's a red flag as well. We know something suspicious is going on, or some scripted actions is going on, and we start to investigate so we can disable any type of criminal activity. So technology really is our best friend in conjunction with the legal amenities that we have at our disposal to track and also partner with organizations like Interpol or the FBI in terms of any ways we could reduce criminal activity and corruption globally, not just within the African space.
Yeah. Okay. So recently there was a case between the United States government and Apple, where the government was looking for information about a suspected terrorist, and Apple would not give it out. I think it became a big case. Now, juxtapose that to a guy that's in the White House right now who does not like immigrants very much. What if the Justice Department of the United States put pressure on you to provide information on Africans who are populated on your platform? What legal background do you have to protect those Africans?
Well, that's why we have our privacy policies. The only way the federal government can, especially the federal government of the United States, can get or force us to get it is we're subpoenaed, and they can show a justifiable action, especially proof of any kind of evidence showing that Bomalink could help solve a particular case or investigation, but it has to come from a judge and signed accordingly. Yes, we have privacy policies where we protect our members as well. We don't share their personal identifiable information without their permission. So if we are forced to release that to a court of law, we also will notify the suspecting user, like, hey, we've been asked to release this information. It came from this court, and this is when we're releasing it, and this is why. So the actual member is kept in the loop, and nothing is kept in the dark.
Okay, very good. Now let's talk about the African diaspora, of which you and I are a member.
Yes.
Are we doing enough to help Africa?
There are two, again, from my opinion, there are two sides to the African diaspora. There's the first side where they're just trying to get away from Africa as much as they can. They're trying to leave a place that has failed them for so long. Like tree, running water, roads, and they escape and they come to countries like the US, where they have these things in abundance, and they breathe a sigh of relief, and they never look back to Africa. They decide to make this place home for the long term. And then you have the other side, especially someone like you define who you are, you evolve, you gain the education, the knowledge, the skills, and also create fantastic relationships with critical people here in America. And you take these valuable resources back to Africa and encourage others like myself to come back with you, so we can create the Africa that we believe in, using the leverages and the knowledge that we have gained over the years being in the diaspora. So I would say to that question, yes and no. There are those of us who do not want to hear about Africa. I have friends who I went to school with. They're right here in the US. They do not like me talking about Nigeria and going back to help. But I do have other friends who are super willing to follow me to Africa and do the work that needs to be done, and reclaim our legacies, our inheritances in Africa, because we want to come from to be part of the African story and to continue to preserve our great history and heritage.
For whatever reason, the African diaspora is not registering. In many areas we've helped, but I think there's a whole lot more that we can do that we're not doing. Is it a case of us not doing enough, or those on the continent not wanting us back?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I see your point now. That's a great one. So it ties into my earlier comment about the leaders of African governments. Those of us that come back, we come back with great ideas that have worked for great nations. Mm-hmm. But there's something called vested interests in African leadership circles, where these ideas take away from the amount of funds that can be embezzled or stolen, and it conflicts with what they benefit from. So especially going to a country that has been riddled by corruption, which corruption is part of its culture, and you introduce ideas that could take that country to a very advanced level, but it requires more transparency. It requires for the people to know where the funds are going, they're coming from. I have personally leadership in Africa who are resistant to that, because they benefit from the secrecy of bribes and greasing of palms that are involved, where they resist ideas from African diasporans like you and I. And it helps to keep the status quo the way they are. So yes, I agree with you. There's a part of Africa that resists ideas from the diaspora on the leadership levels, but then also at the level of the people in Africa. Most of them are welcoming with open hands, but some who may see as I'm a software developer. I have a software development firm, and when I go and bid on various projects in Africa, the local talent there, the local firms, they feel threatened rather than collaborating. They feel like I'm going to come in there and take away all their jobs and things like that. So there could be some resistance there as well, if that makes sense.
Okay, so when I see the cachet of diaspora resources and I see poverty on the continent, something has got to give. And for whatever reason, we haven't been able to put it together. But let me piggyback on that, talk about what you're talking about, stealing and secrecy and everything. What does this say about we, the people? What does it say about us? When in the middle of all this poverty, and in Africa, you see poverty's poverty, okay? But in the middle of that, you have people who would steal not 1 million, not 5 million, tens of millions, and then take it out of the continent and put it in a foreign bank. What does it say about us? And do people look at that, and does that inform how they disrespect Africans all over the world? I mean, I know I have these questions all tied into it, but that bothers me. What's your take on that?
It bothers me tremendously, and it's interesting it's actually a sensitive subject for me. I know some very, very wealthy Africans, like insanely wealthy. I'm talking numbers that are sometimes hard to even fathom that an individual could have. And these funds come from the nation's treasury. And I have experienced, really, I don't want to mention those positions, but I've been in the room where these leaders are asking for the best way to take billions, billions of currency to a Swiss account, or to purchase assets in the Caribbean so they can hold it, and not even consider that. I mean, stealing is already wrong, but how about you invest the funds in your own country at least?
Right.
Maybe you build some construction firms or something that could benefit the people. But it's a mindset. To me, it's a mindset of lack. A mindset, especially in Nigeria, is a mindset that when you have an opportunity to steal, you better steal all you can, because God is not going to give you that opportunity the next time. Wow. It's really sad. They believe God gave them the opportunity to bless themselves, bless their families, and if they don't do it, they're going to miss out on it. And it comes from a mindset of poverty and lack. They don't have plans for this money, but it's just about taking it and keeping it somewhere. It benefits other countries, but it doesn't benefit ours. It's a deep greed, and it comes from poverty.
Okay, diaspora relations. There's the continental diaspora, and then there's the historic diaspora. Like in America, where you live, the African Americans. How would you characterize our relationship with them?
I think we have a rather sensitive relationship with them. For many years, I've heard references from my fellow Africans who sort of are derogatory towards our African American brothers and sisters, in the sense that they have all the opportunities, the education and everything, but they yet do not take advantage of it. But if we really want to understand, it comes from a legacy of many generations of a poor mental self-awareness, which has been passed from generation to generation. On the other side, from the African American side to the African diaspora, I also see some kind of resentment where our ancestors were not taken from the continent, and we led different lives, even though we still were oppressed through other methods like colonization. Uh, kind of look at marriages and relationships. I've seen African Americans desire and go home. And one of the easiest way to come home is to marry a brother or sister from Africa and reintegrate with our culture and continent. However, I've seen them being pushed away aside in preference for someone back home, which may not really be fair. I think the best way to integrate ourselves is to really share and interact, intermarry, and make us one nation again. And there could be other elements who benefit from this to keep us divided, so we never really reclaim our knowledge of self, so that we could be a great nation that we once were maybe thousands of years ago.
Okay, so I've heard that some Africans in America, they say that about our brothers and sisters, but how come the African American doesn't have the right to complain about racism when he lives with white people in America? But we on the continent have the right to complain about colonization when the white man has been gone for decades. Where's the disconnect?
Oh, that's an interesting one. For the continental Africans, I've heard of references of leadership by proxy, where our leaders in Africa are really just puppets for the colonial masters. And I've seen, little hints here and there in political circles around this. But I think you're right. There's a disconnect there. Africans overall are somehow oppressed. We are probably the most upon race on the planet right now. And a lot of it has to do with us, ourselves, not really believing ourselves, not really knowing who we are, and leveraging the power of our self-awareness towards our own goals. I feel there's tremendous self-hate as well amongst Africans in general, where we feel inferior when we compare ourselves to other races. I mean, look at the how rampant bleaching is amongst people of African descent. It goes to say that having dark complexions like yours, like mine, is a sign of inferiority, and having curly hair, it's deeper than we really think it is. Until we're able to embrace who we are and love ourselves and see our brothers and sisters as us, and we treat them like us, and we stop stealing from ourselves, embezzling this money to give to another country for safekeeping. Until we fix those, it's going to be very hard to rise to be a credible and great race that we once were. Something happened to us maybe thousands of years ago. There are various philosophies around it, maybe even extraterrestrial influence, I've heard too, that divided us. We are the only race with so many tribes, so many languages, super, super, super divided against ourselves. I've seen groups side with maybe colonial masters against another tribe, and it fosters that division even further. But it's really a matter of our feeling of maybe low self-esteem, inferiority. Until we can proudly reclaim that, I think we have a lot of work to do.
We wake up every morning to different stories from politics, business, sports, and entertainment. These stories, one way or the other, affect our lifestyle and dealings with family, friends, and business associates. Your take on Diaspora Network Television gives you an opportunity to have your take on these pertinent issues via phone in and messages to our social media platforms, DNT Ghana on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If it's an important trending story, we will definitely talk about it. Your take with me, Yalsichi, on DNT.
Cool, fresh and trendy with a new look. Makes you feel real good. That refreshing vibe. Satisfies you right just the way you like. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Ain't gotta do it alone. Specialized makes you flow. Anytime, anywhere. Specialized feel different. Always think specialized. Special ice, natural mineral water. Feel different. Think special. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
So we were talking about leadership in Africa and our mentality. How do we change that? How do we work the mind? Because we seem to think when it came to doing business, you mentioned that we're doing our own thing in our little pockets, whereas partnerships are a big thing with other people. They come together, they form partnerships. All of a sudden, they're a giant company. But in our case, I want to do it my own, and you have 100 people doing the same thing. Why do you think we don't understand that concept? And yet we go to school and learn about them, and we know about partnerships. But when it comes to doing business, we want to do it on our own.
Yeah. See, and it goes back to what I said earlier, the knowledge of self and self-love. We have so much self-hate where we feel inferior, and we feel if we do it ourselves and if it works and we become this billionaire superstar, then it will validate who we are as a person, not necessarily as a people or as a race. We're so focused on the individual superstar, which is why you see the worship of people who are really thieves and rogues, people who embezzle money, people who do all kinds of fraudulent things in the diaspora and the continent. They're literally worshipped. You know, they go to church and they give their donations and tithes, and the pastors respect them and pray for them. Is the worship of the individual and not of the collective whole. Until we're able to break away from that and unite and see ourselves as one big powerful force, I believe we'll continue to have this. But how do we fix this? I think we fix this by example. We fix this by reaching out when we need help and not being afraid to give up. I don't know, is it equity? Is it shares? Whatever it is. I think everyone deserves to be rewarded for the work that they've done in any project. You know, I think leading by example, especially with what you're doing right now, Jermaine, with DNT, you know, showing the world that you don't exist in your own island as a silo. You work with partners, you work with a network of people who bring different ideas to the table, different things that could lift the overall collective. By example, can be that shining light that others see and want to emulate, which will over time break the curses of individualism and self-worship, and it will create a feeling of self-love of who we are as a collective and as a people.
Yeah, I want to push it further. In America, where you live, no society is more individualistic than the United States. And yet they form partnerships to create a giant company that comes to Africa to compete with DNT. And if CNN steps up in here, DNT is a fly on the wall, right? But CNN it's a partnership. Yes, it might have been started by one person, but now it's a partnership. DNT is now a one-person thing looking desperately for partnership, but we don't put it together. We want to do it on our own. That church thing you're talking about, you go to every shopping strip in Houston. One shopping strip accounted 5 different churches. And yet they admire Joel Olsen, who has a church in a stadium. Why we keep separating us, yet we want to magically be big? Educate me. Am I missing something?
No, you're not missing anything at all. Yes, you're right. It's very predominant here also in Detroit. We have Nigerian churches on various corners. It started as one church, but the leaders of this church, they want to see a church in every corner. So they keep breaking apart, or they have little differences of opinions, and they just go angrily and start a new church. You're absolutely right. A company or corporation like CNN or General Motors is not owned by one person. There isn't really just one decision maker. There's a team, a board of directors. There are lots and lots of shareholders and stakeholders who collectively have a power to influence the decisions and growth of the company. How do we fix this? It's again, I believe in the power of taking action. Like, I can give you a good example with Bomalink, for instance. When the idea of Bomalink came to me, and this was while I was in Kenya for a conference, we had and the former president of Nigeria, lots of great people. And I said, look, we need this thing. We don't know who we are. We need to track who we are so we can connect. And I said I was going to do it, but most people would have waited to just maybe find funding or take some loans or, but I believe like I better lead by example. I already said I was going to do it, and I'll figure it out as I went. Right there in that room, I found I knew something, what opened Bomalink up to better levels of, I would say, quality in terms of ideas. Because if I relied on just this one brain, doesn't have all the answers.
It's not enough.
It's not enough, So I needed more brains, and we have weekly meetings with the brains in the room, to talk about different problems and how we can solve them. That's definitely what I meant by going along through example and attracting similar people, like-minded individuals, that we could one day tell the story of how Africans can work together to create something monumental. But you're absolutely right. There's an individual worship going on where everyone wants to do it themselves. They want to be some kind of rock star and earn the respect of their peers and their people, but they can't really go very far. No, you can't go. I think there's an African proverb around that. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go with more people. And that's what I feel is a potential solution to this challenge.
Well, very good. So finally, what's next for Bomalink? Where do you see Bomalink in 5-10 years?
Oh, in 5-10 years, we are going to be across the entire African continent, collecting people, building relationships with a mindset of Africa operating as one country, with many states and many towns and many villages, but is to bring it all together in one place. Bomalink is going to be the central point of data and analytics about who we are, what we need, where resources should go, and from where it should come. This data will be used to advise governments across the continent, the World Bank, governments in the West, on how they can work with Africa and how they could necessarily donate and we being perceived as a charity case, but really us being perceived as a world global power and someone in the rest of the world to collaborate with us as equals. That's my vision for the long term. And this is not something for just one country in Africa or one region. This is for the entire race of Africans across the planet.
Very good. And I will give you, upon that note, I'll give you the final 60 seconds to make your advertising pitch. This is an interview, but now you have 60 seconds. Who's watching you? Tell them about Bomalink and why they should sign up.
All right, to my brothers and sisters across the world, I encourage you to go to bomalink.com, register and create an account. Send me a connection request. Send Jermaine here a connection request. Let us get to know each other. Let us connect and collaborate. I really want to know what your hopes and dreams are so I can connect you with the resources that you need to manifest your vision. And then also, I'd like to connect you to places you could provide your services where you can help more people across the diaspora and across Africa. So let's get to know each other. Go to bomalink.com so we can create the Africa that we want, the Africa that we believe in, and the Africa that will live for many, many generations to come based on our hopes, our dreams, and our results. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless you abundantly.
Thank you. And it's all free, right? No.
Yes, it's all free, of course. Yes.
Very good.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Shola. What you're
Thank
doing
you.
is transformational. We hope to, you can count on DNT being a partner moving forward. And I think Africa is proud to have the likes of you.
Thank you so very much for everything, for all that you do, all that you are. We are so deeply proud of you. Thank you, sir.
Very good.